Are there advantages to aging? Yes, I am Debbi-Jo Horton, and welcome to Advantages to Aging. Join my guests and I as we discuss aging and what makes for a healthy lifestyle, which results in a quality life. Thank you for joining me today.
Welcome back, listeners, to Advantages to Aging, where we're going to hear from one of our guests from before, Jackie Carroll. I'm so excited that she is back with us. She's the founder of Mind Immersion. We talked all about virtual reality and how you can use it in your professional development. And today we're going to dive even deeper on how we can really use this in the aging process. And here are some personal stories about how this has benefited others. Welcome back, Jackie.
Thanks, Debbi-Jo, for having me again. It's great to be here again and to have a chat with you. And I am very excited about this because I do have an amazing story, especially with my dad to tell, but we'll get into that a little bit. But yes, this is a very good topic for me. So thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, we talked a little bit about how virtual reality can be used in wellness. Can you just kind of expand a little bit or remind those listeners who heard it or inform the new listeners of what we mean by using virtual reality in terms of wellness, which
Sure.
will lead us into aging?
Yes, of course. So, for those of you who don't know, who didn't listen to the last one, so virtual reality essentially, like I was saying, I always kind of use, the idea of watching a movie because we all watch TV, we watch movies, and that really is a 2D space where you sit down and you'll watch a film in front of you in the screen, and we do get immersed because we get emotionally immersed and stuff. But with virtual reality, what that is, it's a set of a headset that you put on to your eyes and you completely it shuts out all of your senses in terms of your visual senses, and you have your earphones and stuff on, so you get completely immersed in a 3D environment where if you look up you can see the sky, if you look down you can see the ground, and if you turn around 360-degree you can see your environment in front of you as if it what you were in a new world. And this is, I suppose, why we call it a virtual reality space, because it seems incredibly real to our brain, but it's totally virtual. So that is what virtual reality is, and that's the environment. And in terms of using it for wellness, you can step into virtual reality meditation environments where you can transport yourself to beaches, to babbling beautiful brooks, to lakes, to forests, to Machu Picchu, wherever it is you want to go and do your meditation. And like I say, get your Zen on. Or you can step into visualization experiences where you get to experience different goals really being achieved, or even just different environments. And this is the exciting thing about aging and how virtual reality can be used as we get a lot older. But we'll get into it. I suppose, Debbi-Jo, you're going to ask me a few questions on that, and then I can share a few stories. But this is quite exciting because virtual reality can be used in terms of stepping into a world, and you don't need to leave your living room. Essentially, you don't need to leave any space, and you can go anywhere in the world. You can be teleported, which is great tool to have.
It is a great tool to have. And, you know, thinking about all of the ways that we can utilize this as we're getting older doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, in terms of getting older, not being able to do things. You still have mobility, you still have capability of doing those things, but sometimes there are things that happen that keep you from being able to really enjoy or immerse yourself in a new adventure or prepare you for the adventure that you're about to take. So, I know that you have lots of stories, and rather than ask you a bunch of questions, I always find that people learn more when they hear about how something was applied for somebody else, and it gives them a better understanding of how they might be able to apply it, not just in the way that you tell the story, but also in variations of that story. So please share with our listeners your dad's story because this is very cool.
Great. Okay. So just what Well, firstly, I'll explain, like in terms of virtual reality, and as you know, people age and they become what we would call as seniors. It's a lot of people say, well, virtual reality is kind of it's a new tech, and seniors, some of them are great with tech, some of them aren't, and how do we get around those barriers? And it's great, it's fine because a lot of people get a little bit scared by virtual reality because there is a sense of motion sickness there, but as long as people are sitting down, and if they are prepared for moving environments whilst they're sitting down, they can adjust quite quickly. So it's kind of once they get over the fear of the technology and over the fear of using it. My dad, he was like, what do I do with this thing now? And it was like, okay, well, Dad, sit down and like, don't hurt yourself now and put your headset on. And he's like, I'm great, I'm great. So put the headset on, and it was absolutely brilliant because with my dad, we're living in Dublin and Ireland, and he lives in the UK. So we're kind of it was a plane ride away, and this really happened when COVID hit. So we couldn't go and visit my dad. My dad couldn't get involved with the grandkids anymore with my children because we couldn't. COVID had put a stop to all of that. So we were like, well, how can we do something that he doesn't feel that he's isolated in a sense, and he still gets to spend time with the family and the grandkids? And virtual reality, because I'm in the space, was a great way to do that. He had a headset, the kids have headsets over here, and they were able to play games in virtual reality together. So they could go and they could experience Jurassic Park together. It was things that they can do together as a family. And it felt like he was visiting or they were visiting him. And you would have the half an hour or the hour in a virtual space. And you get completely immersed. You can hear people, talking, and you can, see the avatars. And it's so much fun. And it just, even though you're so far away from each other, you still feel so connected. And, my dad got it. Like, he's not really that tech savvy, but once, he practiced a few times and stuff, and it was kind of initially just getting over the fear of this new tech and new age and what do I do? But once he got it, he got it. And because the headsets have come along so much that you don't need big, massive gaming computers anymore to plug the headset on. Literally, it's a headset that you just put on, you switch on as like a mobile phone. You don't even need your mobile phones anymore to put into the front of them. It is literally a standalone headset that you just put on, you switch on, and as long as the games and stuff are downloaded, which we pre-downloaded for him, it was so easy for us, to have that interaction. And it was great because he didn't feel isolated. The kids felt like they were spending time with granddad. And, it was a really, really good way to kind of connect people when it seemed like it was impossible to connect. And that was one of the beautiful things that I thought virtual reality, really came along in the COVID times. But what a lot of the care homes and that are using virtual reality for the seniors, they were saying that if people are finding that they want to go on trips, where they want to go back to, let's say, a place that they grew up, they can do that using Google Maps, and they can go down a memory lane and really kind of, just reminisce about old memories. And the what it does to them is something beautiful because they get that spark back, they get the happiness back. And from people who are in the elderly homes, and maybe they don't have people coming to visit them as much as what they should, or if any visitors at all, this really just brings them to life again. And they were saying that they were doing, I think, some of the stories with the dementia clients and stuff like that they were using with this, and it really helped with, because a lot of people were getting very scared, and it really calms people down.
Debbi-Jo with Neora. You know what our brand partners love the most about their Neora business? They can do it from anywhere. Think about it. Haven't you always wanted to have your own schedule, be your own boss, maybe even have a global business and be able to run it from your favorite coffee shop or lounging by the pool or seaside, not having to go into the office? We make sure that all of our brand partners have all of the tools they need to run their business while fitting it into their busy lives. So if that's something that you've been curious about, what it might be like for you to be able to do life on your own terms, then I think we need to chat.
and also with the meditation environments and stuff, this is kind of bringing it back to the well-being space. It's just the science research that they've done, behind the benefits to the seniors, and how they found that just the depression has, really, it came right back up again, where, they weren't being depressed, they didn't feel isolated, and it was like they got a new zip again. It was just unbelievable. And I mean, there is a lot of research that people can go out there and do, and just read on what virtual reality and what they're doing in the different senior homes. But what a fantastic tool, just giving the quality of life back. And Debbi-Jo, just like you were saying, like, how can we, if people are too scared to travel? Well, this is such a beautiful tool, because you don't need to travel with virtual reality, because you can go anywhere. And the beauty with Google Maps and Google Earth is that you can use it in virtual reality, where you can go anywhere you want to go. So, okay, obviously it's not going to be like walking down the promenade, but you can still shimmy in
Yes.
your virtual space, and you can still look around as if you were there and go and see the different streets. So, it's just, what an amazing tool. What an amazing tool.
When we talked earlier before this taping about it, I was thinking, so I live on the East Coast of the United States, and my nephew and his young family live on the West Coast, and my mother is 20 minutes from me, and they just flew back at great expense with their 15-month-old, who is absolutely adorable. And my mother was so emotional because she had gone out a year ago to see her when she was just a couple of months old, and she had in her mind that she was never going to see her great grandchild again
Mm,
because she was too far away. And
mm,
I'm just thinking, like, we love going to like the San Diego Zoo and the safari park. And her favorite is the aquarium, where my mother didn't get to experience the aquarium with her. But I was like, oh my goodness, can you imagine taking footage of all of that and then loading it up into a virtual reality and letting my mother go to the aquarium, to SeaWorld, with her great grandchild and
yeah.
experience it as if she was there. And it has done so much having her here, even for one day. She got to see her for 24 hours, and
Mm,
her mood is so much better. Her depression has lifted, though she would swear she was not depressed. But I really, my brain just went crazy thinking about all the ways that this could help in the aging process. The other thing is, to me, so there's a lot of research that's done on the science of happiness, and
mm,
what you imagine with emotion oftentimes is just as effective as doing the actual activity. So
mm,
imagine, if you would, putting that virtual reality piece on and imagining yourself running a marathon, or
yeah.
imagining yourself just doing push-ups if you can't do push-ups. They find that if you can imagine with emotion, which is what virtual reality would allow you to do, you get the same benefits as if you were doing it.
Yeah.
So talk
Yeah.
about slight edge philosophy and slight edge mentality of being able to do things that you might not in the moment be capable of doing, but still being able to do them in the moment.
Yeah. Well, what happens there, and where the science becomes so powerful, is it's all about, your mind, and, tricking your mind into believing that something is being done. And that's exactly what you were talking about in terms of using emotion. So it's not just an idea of, closing your eyes and going, oh, yes, this is great. I'm in the gym. I'm doing my push-ups now. Oh, yeah, 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 that's great. But it's really actually focusing on the muscle that's working. So if you're doing your push-ups, you're focusing on your biceps or your triceps. So it's kind of like almost visualizing or seeing in your mind's eye with your eyes closed those triceps working and firing, all of the neurons up, that's going to say, oh, well, actually, are we doing this? Are we actually doing this? And the mind believes that you are, because if those neurons, if all those senses and stuff are being fired up, like what you were saying with emotions, then you're tricking your mind into believing that it is actually happening. And that's kind of where you get the whole aspect of, oh, this is actually being done. And this is the beauty about virtual reality, because you don't have to think so much, in terms of getting those fire, because in your mind's eye, you're seeing this. Now, and I
Yes.
have to tell you this story, because then people will get this. When I was first introduced into virtual reality, I remember going into when virtual reality first started coming out, and we were in this exhibition. And I was like, all right, I want to go see what this is all about. This is amazing. Want to get into this, because, like, I come from a film background. So this suited me beautifully in terms of transitioning into it, putting on experiences for people. So I was like, I need to go and see what this virtual reality hype is all about. So I went into this expo. And there were the army guys who had created this environment where you had to go and rescue people from the Dublin mountains. So they were teaching guys in virtual reality first to go and what it would be like to experience to actually rescuing somebody in a helicopter in the Dublin mountains. So the guy was saying to me, okay, well, are you scared of heights? And I'm like, yeah, but don't worry about it. Like, I know I'm here in this, in this, I'm like, I'm on a concrete floor and we're in a warehouse, not a problem. And he said, are you sure? And I said, yeah, I'm fine. So he said, okay. So I put the headset on. And he said, right, now you're going to get into the helicopter and we're going to fly you up and you're going to go over to the mountains. And then when you look out, you'll see the person down in the mountain. You have to shimmy yourself out of this helicopter and grab the person and bring them back up. And I was like, not a problem, thinking this is like an Xbox game. This is going to be great. Well, Debbi-Jo, I tell you what, I get into the helicopter. This is hilarious. And he goes, okay, you need to get out. You need to jump out the helicopter. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I froze. I was thinking to myself, Jackie, you're numpty. You know that you're standing on a concrete floor. I was having a full-blown conversation between my conscious and subconscious, going, just jump. And my body froze, was like, oh no, we're not. We're not jumping out of the helicopter. And I'm like, you're not in a helicopter. And I'm like, yes, I am. No, you're not. Yes, I am. That's how real it was. And the guy actually, I could hear him chuckling, because I was like, oh, this is grand. I'm fine. And he knew what was going to happen. And he said, would you like to hold my hand? And I was like, yes, please. I held his hand, and then I was like, this is so embarrassing. So then I eventually got out the helicopter in my virtual space. Like, once I did it, I was like, okay, it was fine. But it was the initial, how real is this? It was
Yes.
so real, so real. And I just couldn't believe the power. Well, I could believe it, because I'm mad into personal development stuff. I could believe, but to me, it was like, this just proves how powerful your mind is and how real these virtual spaces are. And it wasn't even done in 360. It was a computer generated cartoon environment. And I still could not jump out the flipping helicopter. So just, to me, that sold me hook, line, and sinker in terms of how powerful this is for people. And this is why, like, I don't know if some people have heard, like, the cows in Moscow apparently get virtual reality headsets put on them when they're in when it's snowing outside, and they put the virtual reality headsets on these cows. And they showed the cows that they were in these green fields with sunshine, and they produced better milk.
Oh
I'm
my
like, well,
goodness,
if it's
I had
good
not
enough for the
heard that.
cows. Yeah,
Interesting. Well, and I
interesting.
know that with the study that was done about the doing the virtual reality with exercise, is the next day people's abs actually hurt as if they
Yeah.
had done crunches for 20 minutes, because it's that real. So it's
Mm.
a really powerful experience. It's a really powerful new development in technology, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So, listeners, I hope you enjoyed this episode and it's getting your imagination fired up to learn more. Thanks again, Jackie, for being with us and sharing some of your experiences. I look forward to learning more.
Thank you, Debbi-Jo.
Do you think one of the biggest advantages to aging is all the knowledge we gain along the way? Me too. What did you learn today? Share with me in my Facebook group with the same name as this podcast, Advantages to Aging. Now hit subscribe so you don't miss all the tips to come in future episodes.